You're live. Neil is sick today, so it's just me and the cat.
Probably get on Discord.
Yeah, let's jump in there. Get the announcements out. So what's new with you, Cat?
Another day, another dollar. Just trying to get crypto rich. And no, I've been doing a good review in terms of my DeFi investing and everything else and my security and all that, because more and more looking into launching that crypto fund. I talked to the guys you met, because we're going to maybe partner up with them, but I'm probably doing both. I'm probably going to launch my own little syndication fund, and then for any bigger whales, probably push them the hedge fund way. So yeah, just going down that rabbit hole in terms of what needs to get done, what needs to be, and what needs to be standard operating procedure, for ultimate security.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's probably going to happen, and that'll be cool because A, I can generate some income and, additional income, and B, I can add some TVL to the platforms.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, there's so much. I was just having a conversation with someone the other day. There's just so much attention on crypto. It's really crazy how everybody's in it. I mean, I was just talking to this guy, and he was saying like his mom and uncle and everyone in his family is buying NFTs right now, and I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah,
it's really funny how many people have gotten into it.
NFTs are like the new Dogecoin,
right? But
2 years ago, it was like everyone's grandma was buying Doge.
Yeah, but ultimately, ultimately that all of that kind of just drives right back into Bitcoin, into crypto. So I think the NFT adoption stuff is really just good for crypto in the end.
Yeah, it's definitely
people will have their fun with NFTs, but then they'll eventually just make it over to the real stuff. Not that NFTs aren't real, but a lot of the garbage that they're in is just garbage. So
yep, but at least it brings them into crypto, because in order to own NFT, you generally need to own some kind of crypto.
Right.
So like you said, overall, it's a good thing.
100%.
But yeah, I mean, it's just more and more people, onboarding into just Web3 and realizing I can't believe how many people don't even know like social Web3s are a thing. I mean, I was at that crypto conference in North Palm Beach on Friday. I'm at a crypto conference, and there's people that literally didn't even realize there's like social media Web3 sites. I was like, are you serious right now? I'm like, how are you in crypto?
Yeah.
So, which is good though, because it's like, I mainly found that out because it's just like, I'm rocking the shirt, and someone's like, what's LeoFinance? I'm like, it's a Web3. And they're like, what's Web3? I was like, seriously? But it's also good. I mean, I told a lot of these vendors and stuff, I'm like, you should have, you need a Web3 presence. Like, you're doing yourself a disservice. So like the loan for Bitcoins company, I was like, create a LeoFinance account, which just reminded me, I actually have to email them a bunch of links. I was like, create a LeoFinance account. I was just like, and post about.
Sorry, Mitch, you're muted in Discord. Someone just said.
Oh yeah. So I'm just like, you're missing an opportunity, guy. I was like, post on the Web3s, post on LeoFinance, create your username, as the business name, and basically talk about crypto lending and stuff you offer. I was just like, you got nothing to lose. He's like, what's it? And he's like, what does it cost to get on the platform? I was like, nothing. And he was telling me
it actually can pay you to be on the platform.
Well, that's what I said. I'm like, actually, you can earn Leo tokens, when people vote on your post and this, that, and the other thing. And he's like, I was like, let me know. I was like, write an intro post about your company and the lending it does, and I'll vote it up, and my trail will vote it up. But yeah, he was telling me about like these other platforms where we had to spend like X amount of dollars to like get on. I was like, no, that's like, I'm like, that's so Web 2 of you. So that reminded me, yeah, I got to send them link to LeoFinance and a couple other things. But it just makes
Yeah.
sense. It's like free advertising. It's like, and it's something people want. I'm like, go onto a community of crypto people that have crypto, and some people are looking to leverage their crypto for fiat, fiat loans.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't hurt too that I can probably get some kind of referral commission off of them if I do send anyone their way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, I think one direction that we're going to be moving in with a lot of LeoFinance, they're saying they can't hear you in Discord for some reason. Maybe check your mic
Still?
output device. Yeah, I wonder if it's your output device in there.
Hold on. Well, I was muted. I unmuted.
Yeah, they said even after you unmuted.
What?
Yeah. But yeah, I think the direction we're moving in with a lot of the LeoFinance.io development is that we're essentially migrating that idea that on desktop on LeoFinance.io, it's about the creator experience, and then on Leo Mobile, it's about the consumer experience. And with those updates, we're basically bringing in like a lot of interesting features that are going to basically like what you're talking about, where there's like companies and organizations and crypto projects and communities that want a place where they can, talk about their project and get more attention on their project. That is, that's just the basics of marketing. And, if you go back to the early, internet and why people started using Web 1.0, it was because they wanted, basically it was the migration of yellow pages to having a page on the internet where you could get more business, you could get more attention and marketing and awareness. And I think one easy low-hanging fruit for us in terms of onboarding people is that communities idea and onboarding businesses and projects in the crypto space. And I really think we've got most of the technology we need to make that happen. I think there's kind of some remaining pieces that we need are kind of surrounding making this onboarding process super easy for businesses and projects and communities, so that they can get their own page on LeoFinance and then have, their community members and their authors join in and start creating content and engaging with LeoFinance people about their project. I think that's really low hanging fruit, because if you assume that we can create whatever technology is left and needed for that, which I think is, the community pages feature, and then this threads feature that I've been working on. I think once we have those two things in place, we should definitely be going out to projects and businesses like you're doing, and basically telling them, hey, create a page on LeoFinance, get, some people from your business, some of your employees, get some of your community members, and even the business owner, if that's the one who writes content and engages with people, and create this page, start putting content on it. And in terms of what we can do as LeoFinance is we can send our whole community to that page and make it populate with other content and comments. And once we have all that populated, then you go out and you share it and you use it as kind of a home page or home base, kind of like with Web 1.0. It's there were a lot of listing services like Yelp that kind of came around, and I do think there's like a big market need for something like that on Web3. And I think we have all the surrounding architecture and technology that we need, but kind of that core of the community pages idea would kind of be that final selling point, I think, where we could say, here, you have your own page on Web3, and we're driving traffic to it, and then you can drive traffic to it. And it benefits them, but it benefits us, because if their community is 10 people, then we just added 10 people to LeoFinance. If their community is 100, just added 100. And if we get some bigger ones over time, like Thorchain, we could be adding thousands of community members to LeoFinance.io. So I do think that could be huge. And just on something like Thorchain, for example, if when we get wrapped Leo onto Thorchain, and you can swap it for Rune or really any other big cryptocurrency, That's going to be really interesting because then you can basically sell people on, you can basically go to the ThorChain community page on LeoFinance. You can blog, you can comment, you can earn Leo, and that Leo is connected to ThorChain, and then you can LP it on ThorChain and swap it for any ThorChain assets, or vice versa. It starts to get really interesting when we can have simple onboarding for communities and businesses. I think that's kind of a critical path forward for us.
Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity. And onboarding communities is, bang for your buck. Because, like you said, you onboard one person, you're onboarding, potentially 10 people.
Yeah.
So it's true. And it's also about, for instance, like, the whole Alchemist Nation community, I've only onboarded a handful of people because in the end, every one of those people are on Facebook and are used to Facebook, like in that community. So I was just like, I'm going to sit on my hands until the Facebook thing comes out, because at that point, it'll be 10 times easier to get these people on. So now Facebook's out. She's like, all right, let me, make the push again. And, I can do that on calls, but I especially can do it at the live events, which, we don't have the next one for like 3 or 4 months. But when that happens, that'll just be super easy because I can literally just have everyone take out their phone, click Facebook, and be able to sign up hundreds of people in one shot. So,
Right.
I mean, I'll do some of it, on the Zoom calls, but at the live event, that's just going to be the easiest thing because everyone can just whip out their phone and press Facebook and hit connect.
Yep.
And then, and then essentially that process is one of the easiest, but also I can just walk them through the simple steps and then answer questions, in real time, in person for, a room full of hundreds of people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
So-
that's, we've got the Facebook signups and it's super easy. And now it carries over to desktop too. So now you can do it on desktop and Leo mobile with Facebook.
Yeah, the Facebook
and Twitter,
is huge.
obviously. Yeah.
I mean, and again, it goes back to catering to your crowd. I mean, I just happen to be part of a big community that's all on Facebook. I mean, there's other, there's crypto communities that are all about Telegram. Like, it's just a matter of knowing your audience. So it's like, I knew what my audience was. So I'm like, all right, I need Facebook.
Right.
And so speaking of the mobile app, I haven't tried in a hot minute. Is Android working now, or?
Yeah, you should update your Android app and try
Yeah,
it.
I'll uninstall and reinstall because
I know that some people have like a weird bug where it doesn't load past the homepage.
Yeah, all I
which
get
we're
is,
working on.
You can't really see it. That sucks.
Yeah,
That's weird that it shows as white. Yeah, so there you go.
For
just
certain
does that.
devices. Yeah, for certain devices, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
and
but
we're
I haven't
working on that.
reinstalled, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's
try-
been like a month. at
Try
least.
reinstalling it.
Yeah,
And see if that fixes it. But we did add. We've been adding a bunch of features and making really good progress on V1. Because V1 is, and I've talked about this before, but V1 is essentially where we go out and we push the mobile app into the full iOS app store and the full app stores. And then, that obviously then we're going to do a bunch of marketing and kind of take it to the next level. So the latest thing that we added, which I'm obviously really excited about and people have asked for since Leo started 3 years ago, is full text search. So now I put up a tweet, and now you can literally search. I don't know if you can see that very well, but you can literally search for anything. So I just searched for Elon Musk, and you can find, like, on Twitter, I posted like a screen share of this, but you can search Elon Musk and then it comes up with all these articles about Elon Musk, and some are like this one's like a year old. Let's see where I'm at here. This one's like a year old, and it indexes all the content on LeoFinance.io, and then it obviously does like a rich text search of it. And I think that's really that's one of those killer features that you may not think that much about, but it's really important, and it's good for stickiness of LeoFinance, because when you want to learn about something, do you have to go to Google to search about it, or can you just search directly on LeoFinance?
No, I mean, that me and like Walter and some of the other guys are a huge fan of the search because we realize how important it is. That's why obviously we've all been asking for it for a while.
Yeah.
All right, my phone hates LeoFinance. Apparently, I uninstalled, reinstalled, and I'm still, even after I reinstalled, I went to open it, and I'm still getting the. Oh, it just went dark. I'm still getting just the
Okay. Yeah, it's, I don't know which Android you've got, but
It's
there's a
probably
few.
my phone's a little old. I always stay models behind. I think I have like honestly, I think I have like a Galaxy S9 or something.
An S9. Okay.
Yeah, my phone's a little older.
Yeah. So and this is a good public service announcement. So for you and for anyone else, if you have a bug like that, we have a new support center kind of whole system. So now you can open a tech support ticket, but if you have a bug like what Mitch has, you can open a bug report and then kind of include like screenshots, any information whatsoever about any bug you have on any of the websites or apps. So if it's Leo Mobile Android, if you can open a bug report ticket and kind of include steps to reproduce and a screenshot, that would be really helpful, because then we're basically taking all that and it goes directly to the devs, and then we can fix it. So we've been fixing bugs really quickly now ever since we put up the bug report system, because essentially the process looks like people jump into Discord and they say I have this issue, and then they open a bug report. They include any information about the bug. Then we take that bug report and we add it to, we use Trello to kind of organize all of our all of our developments and updates. So then we throw it into Trello and we prioritize it. So we've got a list of bugs, and we just prioritize this list of bugs, and then every week the devs kind of just work down the list and kind of hammer them all out. And that's been working really well for us lately, because it was very ad hoc before this, where people would say there's a bug, and then I would just kind of write something down and then send it to the devs right away and just say, here, fix this. And there was not really a priority system, no priority management for that. So now we've got obviously this much better system of prioritizing bug reports. So
Yeah, it's important.
yeah, definitely, especially as things have grown and we've got more apps and there's a lot more people involved. It's been really important to get more organization. And yeah, so Discord is a lot more organized than it used to be.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know if the phone is anything like the computer. I'm like, do I need to like clear cache and
Yeah, I mean, if you uninstalled and reinstalled it, it's probably a device compatibility issue. So if you open a bug report ticket and just throw in what device you have and what Android version you're on, we should be able to fix it pretty quickly.
yeah, I can take a look what Android version I'm on. Should be the latest though. I know I just had an update like a week ago.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm not a fan of when it comes to Android, is that there's all the different Android versions and all different Android devices, and
Yeah.
it's a pain in the ass to support all of them. Like I know someone had like a super old Android and we had to deploy like a special version of the app for them.
Oh, that's miserable.
Yeah, Android is a mess. The cool thing about iPhones is that it's just everything's an iPhone and it's all on iOS.
Yeah. The Apple cult
Apple
is
cult.
beneficial sometimes.
Yeah, you know
Everyone's-
that one of my favorite books is the Steve Jobs book by Walter Isaacson, and he's actually writing a biography right now on Elon Musk. But that's one of my favorite books, and in the book, he talks about the way that Steve Jobs thinks or thought, and how he designed Apple and built it, and a lot of what like at the core of what he did was a closed ecosystem. He was a control freak, and he wanted control over every single process in every single process, every single thing, every feature, all the software, all the hardware. He wanted control over everything, so he called it end-to-end control, where it was this closed ecosystem of the Apple cult. So that's how the Apple cult started, and the reason why it started is because he knew that if you wanted to build great products and have them work extremely well, it had to be a closed system where you had full control. And he fought with Bill Gates and Google and Microsoft over whether or not open systems were better than closed systems. And obviously Google and Microsoft were focused on the open system idea, with PCs and with phones and with their software. They were focused on kind of open support for everything. And obviously Steve Jobs and Apple were focused on closed systems where, you know, you could buy an Apple computer, but they used special bolts to prevent people from opening the hardware so that they couldn't change anything in it.
Yeah.
And I do think that worked extremely well for Apple. And I'm obviously a little bit of an Apple cultist because I've got, you know, an iPhone, I'm on a you know, a Mac computer. Because I do think the closed system works very well in terms of Apple products. Android's kind of, I do have an Android too, mostly just for testing LeoFinance, but it's I will always think Apple is superior.
Yep, people go back and forth. The irony of it is, so in the end, the reason it's superior is because centralization. Literally,
Centralization
like,
can be good sometimes.
centralization for the win right there, which is ironic. So I like,
Yeah.
obviously, I like my freedom, all that stuff. That's why I kind of like Android, because, you know, you're not stuck to just a specific device. There's, you know, different brands you can get, as opposed to Apple. It's like it's Apple or Apple or Apple.
Yeah.
You know, with Android, it's like you can have a Samsung, you can have you know, what is it? Forgot the other brand I used to have. Jesus. But anyway, there's multiple different options.
Yeah.
But like you said, you got all these different operating systems out there on different phone types, and it makes it harder for app developers, as opposed to, like you said, the closed loop that is Apple.
Yep.
So that's funny though, because everyone's so decentralization. Meanwhile, Apple's a prime example on centralization being better.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I think it goes.
Yeah, it's just, you know, decentralization is great in terms of freedom. Centralization is great in terms of ease of use. So, you know,
Yes.
it's much easier to use a bank account than it is to use Bitcoin. But obviously when you use a bank account, you know, you don't technically own your money. The bank takes your deposit and they're loaning it out, you know, 3-to-1 and doing whatever they do with the money. And you're just kind of sitting there with, you know, you have ease of use and you have your money when you want it, but you don't get the, you know, you don't get the APR, you don't get the yield on that money. You don't get to freely move it around across borders with no, you know, centralized party. You know, you lose out on those freedom features, but you do gain a lot of ease of use. So it's a trade. Everything in life is a trade-off. And one of the biggest trade-offs is that centralization is very easy to use, very easy to understand for most people. But decentralization has a lot less ease of use, but it has a lot more features that can benefit your life in terms of freedom and making money and everything.
I mean, centralization is always easier to onboard, and that's been, you know, again, the big problem with crypto is the difficulty of onboarding, which does get easier and easier as resources are built, but
Right.
that's always going to be, it's not going to be something where like, all right, resources are built and we're done. It's like, no, resources are built and then continually resources are going to need to be updated, upgraded, as things change. You know, I guess similar to having an app on you know, with Android, where it's like you need to be providing resources that, you know, touch on all the different versions, all the different phones.
Yep.
As opposed to, like you said, Apple, where it's just kind of like one and done.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now it makes sense. So that's funny though. I would love to find like I mean, I like decentralization, but I'd love to find like one of the, you know, maximalists for decentralization. And then when you talk about that Apple Android example, like I feel like it would just like explode their mind, because they're like, wait, hold on. I can't really argue against this. Especially if they happen to have an iPhone, that would be even the double whammy.
Right.
Although I feel like most of those people have Androids because they like that was the whole thing when Android is like, you had more freedom, you had more ability, more access of what you could do with this, you know, software, so to speak, as opposed to an iPhone where it was built for the everyday user and you had less control with your, you know, operating software.
Yeah.
So, but
it's all a trade-off.
Yeah, and you're always going to need both, because there's going to be people that prefer both.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't have any questions in Discord yet. I actually am not on any of the other platforms. I should probably do that. I got too used to Neil jumping on. I mean, what is it? Basically, it's just Twitter, or is the YouTube going too now, right? The new channel?
YouTube isn't going yet. We need
Oh,
this is
okay.
another good public service announcement. We need more followers and views on YouTube. I'm dropping the link in
Oh,
Discord.
yeah, new
Yeah,
YouTube channel.
because obviously we got banned from Web2 YouTube for no good reason, and so we started a new channel. And I'm still working on getting the old one back, but this one is just branded as Cal, and it's kind of just going to be the extra channel if we get the Leo one back, or if and when we get it back. I'm sure we'll get it back at some point, but from what I've heard, it could be a year before you get it back. There's no way to tell.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about Google and centralization. That's one of the trade-offs we get is freedom. So yeah, that one got banned. So we got the new one. And I want to start streaming on it again, but we only have 36 subscribers, and I've only posted a few videos on there. So I've got the head of growth that's going to start posting on there again and more regularly. So if you can go to the new YouTube channel and subscribe and share the videos, get some views on it, then I forgot what the cutoff is, but there's some sort of subscriber and viewer metric that we need to be able to go live. And we haven't hit it yet. So we need your help. We need your help to get there. Yeah, people only come here for Neil. That's true.
There is yeah, I went on Facebook. There was like one person watching, but no questions. And Twitter, there was a couple, but no questions.
Yeah, we're at a little bit of a weird time today too. So that's probably has an impact.
I mean, in the end, I think it's all the same questions, and people just gave up on asking them anymore.
When, yeah, the whens have been exhausted.
I mean, if Neil was here, yeah, you've outlasted everybody. They finally just hit the point of breaking.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure if Neil was on, he'd be asking when bonding,
right?
Because that's his number one question.
Yeah, I think it's funny. That's the one strength that I have, and that I think I've kind of put into LeoFinance is we are at our core, we are impossible to beat in the long run. We'll be banging our head against the wall for the next 100 years.
There'll always be a when.
There'll always be a soon to answer your when.
Yes,
don't worry.
There'll always be a when, because once there's a soon, then the next when comes up.
Exactly. Yeah, I think the same day we launched PolyCUB, people were saying when Avalanche Cup. It was hilarious.
That's hilarious.
It's hilarious. There's no escape.
That is hilarious. I don't know. I think it's funny too, though. Like maybe it's just from all of the, from all the years of day trading or whatever, like just like picking up trends. But, after PolyCUB launched, and then there's talk about, all right, Phantom or Avalanche Cub next. And you were talking like you'd like to launch one every couple of months. And I'm like, my first reaction was, and I think I was telling like Mike and G, I was just like, yeah. So that means probably like 3 to 4 months. Like you got to have realistic expectations. So, I mean, PolyCUB's still, technically in the works. Bonding needs to launch. And then, I know the collateralization with xPoly's on the board.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking like just that stuff alone is going to probably eat up a month, and we've been out for almost 2 months. So like you're 3 months, we're at 3 months right there, so that's why I was just like, you're not going to see another outpost until 3-4 months out, probably.
Yeah.
First AMA for Iska. What is up?
Welcome.
We got Tony Montana. I just say what you were going to say. I'm going to read the.
Yeah, no, I was going to answer that. So if you want to read it off.
Oh, Tony's question. Okay, yeah. So basically, he said thoughts on moving PHBD USDC pool to a curve factory pool. It would improve liquidity quite a lot, I think.
Yeah, I do think that's interesting. I've looked into it a little bit. I admittedly haven't looked into Curve enough to see how exactly that works. So I know they have like this factory creation system. I have a question for the AMA. to Tony, which is, do you need, because I've only looked into it briefly, do you need to vote it through the governance to get it deployed, or can you just create the pool and the governance vote is only to handle gauge rewards? From what I understand, it's only to handle gauge rewards, which would mean that it would be easy for us to create a pool. And then obviously we don't need the gauge rewards because we got PolyCUB. Basically my question is, if we did deploy one and then just add that to polycub.com/farms, would it instantly be usable, or do you have to do some sort of DAO vote in order to get it listed somewhere on Curve, on their UI or some other place? I am curious about how that works. I don't know if Tony's actually in the chat or not.
He's in chat, but I don't see him in the audio, but he must be listening elsewhere because he's typing. Yeah, I didn't even know Curve Factory was a thing. So, and that's something too I was talking about with my buddy the other day. I was like, the crypto industry is so overwhelming. There's so many platforms, so many projects. It's just like, it's impossible to know it all and keep up with everything, even with projects you're looking at. It's baffling. I mean, I know people that do this full time, and it's like they know so much more than I do, and they still only know a fraction of what's out there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's, it used to be, and it's funny because, making all these TikToks and stuff, I've been talking a lot about, my history in crypto and how I got started and everything. And I was thinking the other day about how simple crypto used to be when I first got into it.
Oh my God. Yes.
Like 5 years ago, because it was like, all you could do is just set up a Coinbase account, buy some Bitcoin and sit on it. And that was really all you could do. And nowadays it's just, I mean, you have tens of thousands of options, not in terms of what cryptos you can buy necessarily. That's a whole other story, but just in terms of how to enter the space and what you can do within it is completely different. Obviously you can join something like LeoFinance through Facebook or Twitter, sign up, and within 30 seconds, you'll be writing comments and content and earning crypto. 5 years ago that didn't exist. That would have been a pipe dream. So I do think it's really crazy how fast this industry has changed and how fast it keeps changing. Because, then you've got things like Thorchain where you're talking about, decentralized cross blockchain permissionless swaps. And if you would have said that when Bitcoin, 5 years ago with Bitcoin, it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy.
That statement alone, people are like, what? Like I was almost like, what? I know what it is, and I'm still like, what? In 2016, even in 2017, but like 2015, 2016 into 2017, all you literally needed to do was just chase down what ICO was launching next. Like that was it. It was like, what ICO can I basically try and gamble on?
Yeah.
Like that was literally it, and then obviously you had Web3 starting. Obviously Steam was on there. I mean, that's really what got me more into crypto. Like I knew about Bitcoin, but 2016, when I came across Steam, that's what got me more down the rabbit hole. And I mean, and still to this day, every reason I thought Steam was awesome, it was going to blow up, and I literally was going to like make crazy money, I think it's still valid. It's just zero execution, zero business sense, zero any of that, and ends up being like probably the worst investment I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
Like all the real estate people I know are always just like, dude, like you must have like millions in crypto. Like you've been in since 2016. And I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, I hitched my wagon to the wrong project. I'm like, I was better off just buying ETH.
Yeah. I mean, that's the interesting thing about crypto, right? Because at the same time, I kind of have similar feelings where I did dump a lot of crypto into Steam way back when, and obviously Steam, it kind of screwed us all over. If you go back to when all that went down, I did manage to realize that Steam, it was kind of on its downfall, and I started liking out of Steam, and I still held a lot always, but I just started reaccumulating Bitcoin and ETH. I back then I was big on Litecoin too, which feels ridiculous now, but
no, I had a crap ton of Litecoin back in the day as well.
Yeah, I was looking at some of my old transactions and I saw Litecoin and I was just like, that's so funny. I used to use Litecoin a lot. So it was just crazy to, I don't know. It's crazy to think about how everything changed. But I did leg out of Steam, and I was glad that I did, and just kind of getting back into Bitcoin and ETH, a couple of years ago. And I was happy that I did that. And then I started looking at Steam with more of a lens of, this is a way to earn crypto. This is a way to, build a community, to build, kind of a network of people through content creation and commenting and everything. And I stopped looking at Steam as something where I needed to buy a bunch of Steam and hold my whole life savings in Steam, which is kind of how I looked at it, previously. And once I started changing the way I looked at it, I really started reaccumulating, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all that. And then obviously the whole Hive thing happened, and then I still had a bunch of Steam. So then it forked, and then I had, I doubled my money overnight because, like all of us did, because, obviously, the Hive fork created Hive, and then we still had our Steam. And then I ended up selling all my Steam and moving it into like Bitcoin and Ethereum again. And then Bitcoin and Ethereum exploded after the whole March 2020 crash. So I do think I timed that very well. I was looking back at some of those transactions, and it was pretty crazy to see that, I sold a bunch of Steam, threw it into Bitcoin, Ethereum, when Bitcoin was still under 10K, and then everything went crazy. And then I actually ended up buying back into Hive later around 10 cents. Most people know about that. I talked to Addicted about that a lot. And yeah, buying the bottom at Hive was really beneficial too.
Oh, it definitely helps. Yeah. I definitely did not do that. I've probably done the opposite of that. I've had definitely some unfortunate transactions. Even like Steam, like, yeah, once the fork happened, I was like, all right, I'm done with Steam. So same thing, I sold it all off. But I don't know why I didn't add to like the bigger name cryptos. I just do like, I guess I get stuck in the ecosystem, in that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get rid of my Steam, and it's like, well, I don't want to buy more Hive, so I flipped all my Steam into Leo. So that was really that. So I mean, it is what it is. Like net, I guess. I don't even know. I don't even remember what prices I was buying Leo out. I feel like that was when Leo was higher, which is another thing that I don't know if anyone's ever talked about, and I'm actually very curious about, is, and I guess there was an overall pump in the crypto market, so that helped. But I feel like it can't just be that, because it was such a substantial move. But when Leo had that brief flippening of Hive, and it was over $1, I don't think I've ever seen anyone talk about what the catalysts for that were, what the potential catalysts were, or, if there was even any ideas on what they were. Because it's just like, okay, we've gotten there once, how do we get there again? And I have no idea at all why Leo was ever over $1. Like, I don't know what the catalyst was.
It was the Cub airdrop.
Ah, that's right. Yes, because you needed to own Leo. That makes a ton of sense.
Well, it was
now.
partially that, and then I do think we were just kind of exploding in traffic, and people were seeing, what can be built.
It was a combination of things. And the
Yeah,
market
there was an
yeah.
explosion. There was a big explosion in terms of users and onboarding, and then obviously the airdrop all at the same time, and everything just kind of mooned.
And
The other
the whole
thing that
crypto market
happened,
went up then too. Yeah, that was
right?
like
Crypto went
that was the
up.
bottom.
Yep, crypto went up, and yeah, I do think sentiment is a really fickle thing, and a lot of people over the past year with Cub and everything, people have kind of taken this negative sentiment towards Leo and Cub and PolyCUB, and I think that's kind of like this kind of negatively self-feeding cycle that some people are in about them. But I do think, as with everything, that bottoms out at some point. So who knows when that'll happen, but
Yeah,
I
I
always
mean,
think it
honestly,
bottoms out. Like for Hive, it bottomed out at 10 cents, and
yeah, I was wrong on that
everything
one.
bottoms out.
I had that bet with Addicted that it was going to touch 5 cents. which
crazy.
Which part of I know Neil was pretty on board with that. He thought it was going sub 10 cents. So I lost that bet, which sucked, because obviously I lost Hive. So so I was a double loss. I had to pay him in Hive, and the price was higher. But what you call it? I wanted to circle back to, I don't know if something we can like, obviously we can't really answer, loosely answer it. Iska asked about HBD. So I don't know if she's not on PolyCUB at all. It's kind of sounds like it. But basically she said, I have HBD savings that are going to be freeing up and I have no idea how to get into PHBD USDC. So I don't know. I know there's been some posts in regards to PHBD. I don't know if anyone did any kind of tutorial post. It is way easier. Yeah, she's not on PolyCUB at all. It is way easier though than probably people would think because there's the site for the wrapping feature. So all you have to do is use that and it wraps your HBD. And then you just need to have USDC to pull against it. But yeah, at that point, it might get complicated if you've never been on the platform before, because you need to obviously have your MetaMask connected to PolyCUB on the Polygon network, and you need some Polygon, type USDC, because obviously each stable, you have to have it on the correct blockchain.
Yeah.
So, and there's tutorial posts about how to use it. So yeah, there's the how to wrap. So that's good. But then I'm pretty sure people have done tutorial posts on, how to pool on PolyCUB when it first launched. And that right there is an example of why that search feature is going to be so huge.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just have to save links forever. And I've thought about that, just literally having links when people do posts and just saving when I know someone's going to need that at some point. But that just is work and I'm lazy. So search feature to the rescue.
Yeah. Like here, look, if you search PHBD, you just get all this content about PHBD.
So the search feature is live on the mobile app.
It's live on my version. I can't remember I don't know if we've pushed it to production yet, but we're probably going to do that very soon. It's live on my mobile app. So
Gotcha.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah. So as far as pulling, I mean, there's definitely plenty of posts about how to, get basically do quote unquote do DeFi. So Tony's giving you more information in regards to the curve thing. Let's see if there's any other questions while you're looking at that. No, just other people talking about their experience with Steam. And yeah, I mean, I agree, Eric. I mean, if it wasn't, as much as I was just kind of hating on Steam from the investment results, I mean, if it wasn't for Steam, I wouldn't have gotten involved in crypto as heavy as I did as soon as I did. So, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't own, Bitcoin from the prices I own. I didn't actually physically buy Bitcoin until I was actually on Steam. I looked at Bitcoin 2 years prior and didn't do anything, which was regrettable. We got Rolly Rob. Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, we haven't talked about that in a while. So Rolly Rob asked about when we'll have an executive summary dashboard on PolyCUB showing protocol and liquidity and I don't. I was gonna say, I'm my mind's blanking on that acronym.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're working on it's like a summary dashboard or basically just a protocol on liquidity page. So it's going to look a lot like where's that picture that I posted? Here we go. So yeah, there's a couple different pages. All this stuff kind of has its own dashboard. So the protocol and liquidity looks like this. Obviously it'll own a lot of different assets. And then it'll basically display it on there. And it's basically, and things are getting really interesting because with PHBD, I'm actually working on kind of this long white paper about where we're headed with PolyCUB. Because we're about to basically do a full 180 on the way that PolyCUB works. not in terms of mechanics, but in terms of the vaults. So in terms of how the vaults work, we're basically doing a full 180 on the vaults, because we've essentially looked at how kingdoms have worked, and then how much value they're generating for protocol and liquidity, and they generate good value. And obviously, there's a couple $1 million in there, so it's generating decent value for the protocol and liquidity. But since the launch of PHBD, the treasury is basically earning thousands of dollars a month from PHBD, and that's just with $300,000 in liquidity. So obviously we want to see that liquidity grow, and it has been growing a lot. I think it'll probably be 350,000 in the next 24 hours or so.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's and I mean, that is like almost 20% growth. So we've seen it grow a lot, and we're going to see it continue to grow, and our goal is to get to $5 million in that pool, because I think that is essentially the killer feature for Hive to get adopted, is for HBD to get adopted. And for that to happen, it needs liquidity, and PolyCUB is basically the only source for good rewards on providing liquidity and kind of building out that liquidity pool that's needed for mass adoption. So we're actually going to see kind of this full scale change, because I've been watching what's happening with PHBD, and I think what we've completely discovered is that we've got this whole model that we built for, and the way that we describe it is deep utility and intense scarcity. So there's only about 7 million PolyCUB that will ever exist, which is intensely scarce. There's not a lot of PolyCUB out there, and there will never be a lot of PolyCUB out there. The thing that amplifies value is that you have scarcity, and then you build extreme utility for it. So what we're doing with all these features that we add to PolyCUB, like governance, collateralized lending, all of these different features are intended to build utility for PolyCUB. So when utility meets scarcity, you have number go up. And what we need to do, and I think what we've discovered, is that we need to create even more utility for PolyCUB than what was already planned with the lending and the bonding and governance. And I think what we're going to do is, and I was talking with Addicted about a lot of this stuff and a lot of the ideas I have for this white paper, which I may have the white paper out by tomorrow. We'll see, which will basically describe this whole 180 change. What we're essentially going to be doing is like, we're going to be migrating vaults on PolyCUB to look a lot more like Thorchain. So every vault will be backed by PolyCUB, the same way that if you go onto Thorchain, every vault is backed by Rune. So you have Bitcoin Rune, you have ETH Rune, you've got Litecoin Rune. PolyCUB is going to be moving in that direction, and we're also changing it so that we've basically built this multi-chain bridge, and we're not utilizing it to its full capacity, because so far we've only utilized it for Leo. So you've got Wrap Leo, B Leo, P Leo, and with the launch of PHBD, we've realized that we've built this cross-chain bridge, and now we can really launch whatever we want. And it kind of creates almost like this Thorchain like value accrual for PolyCUB, and then for Cub when we migrate everything back into Cub too. So we're kind of creating like this multi-chain ecosystem of our own, where value can be accrued from every side. So I was talking with Addicted about value accrual for PolyCUB and how we can completely flip this model on its head. And we were just kind of brainstorming how all this stuff works, and if we do pursue this new model, it's going to be like a full-scale change in how value is accrued into PolyCUB every single month, and the protocol and liquidity. So one example I gave is that we've been talking with Splinterlands, and they want to launch. They want us to help them launch basically a PSPS token on PolyCUB. And this is kind of perfectly timed, because if we are pursuing this new 180 change in vaults, we essentially mapped out, when I was talking to Addicted, how PolyCUB is accruing value from something like a Polygon SPS token that's launched through our bridge and then put onto polycub.com/farms. and then with the rewards controlled by governance. So basically there's 5 value accrual mechanisms for a vault like that. So for a vault like SPS, essentially it would look like this. We would launch PSPS, which would be the Polygon wrapped version of SPS, which would obviously let people wrap and unwrap SPS onto Polygon. So the SPS, when you wrap SPS through the PolyCUB bridge, you would basically be depositing SPS into the Oracle bridge. And the Oracle bridge would then stake that SPS. And right now I think it's paying like 24% SPS is on Splinterlands. So they're paying like 24% yield. So the Oracle would stake a percentage of that SPS the same way that the Oracle is staking a percentage of the HBD that it has for wrapping, and earn the 24%. And then also the second way it accrues value is that the wrap and unwrap fee is 0.25% on each side. So basically PolyCUB's treasury is earning 0.25% on every wrap and unwrap, which adds up very quickly. If you look at PHBD, it's adding up extremely quickly. And then there's also the arbitrage that we have built into the PolyCUB pools, where essentially the treasury is arbitraging the SPS PolyCUB price, like it's doing right now for PHBD-USDC. So if you're watching, PHBD-USDC is very close to its peg, and it always is. It's just kind of being arbitraged back and forth. And then you've also got the so this vault would look like it's SPS-PolyCUB, and the utility is another, what is this? The fourth utility mechanism, the fourth value accrual mechanism for PolyCUB is the LP is backed by PolyCUB. So if you want to pool SPS, you have to also own PolyCUB, and you can pool them together, which is how Thorchain works. If you want to pool Bitcoin, you have to also have Rune. And then the fifth value accrual mechanism is the governance. So basically kind of similar to Curve, anyone can launch a pool, and we can launch this bridged pool where it's PSPS-PolyCUB in a vault together. And it will start with 0 yield. So there's no yield on that vault. But then the governance votes are continuously happening. And based on, stake weighted votes, people can vote up the SPS-PolyCUB vault to get more of the yield every day. So if SPS holders want a good place to pool SPS, they basically can pool it on PolyCUB. But if they want to earn high yields on that, they have to buy more PolyCUBs to stake it as xPOLYCUB, and then vote up the vault for SPS-PolyCUB to make the yield higher. So those are kind of those 5 value accrual mechanisms under this new model that we're probably going to do, which is that basically migrating, things like a WETH Bitcoin kingdom into something like a PolyCUB-Bitcoin kingdom. But then, consider it for SPS where, and other tokens like also like pHive, which we're going to launch, which is just a bridge version of Hive for PolyCUB. We're essentially copying Thorchain's model almost verbatim, and taking it and saying we're creating a bridge token, which is obviously different than Thorchain, but we're creating a bridge token like for pHive, and we're pairing it with PolyCUB so that the LP is pHive-PolyCUB. And then obviously the treasury is earning wrapping fees, it's earning arbitrage fees, it's staking the Hive and earning from the Hive blockchain natively into the protocol and liquidity. And then governance controls how much APY goes into that vault. So if you're a big pHive-PolyCUB whale and you want more yield on your vault, you vote up your vault. And if there's a competition over, let's say that 1Alpha is a pHive whale and Scaredy Cat is a PHBD whale, Mitch obviously wants his vault to get more yield. So he's going to vote up the PHBD vault and keep buying PolyCUB to do so. And then 1Alpha sees that and he's like, no, I want more yield in my pHive vault. So I'm going to buy more PolyCUB than Mitch has, and I'm going to stake it and vote up the pHive vault. And then there's kind of this whale competition to keep voting up the different vaults. And then I'm talking with a lot of different Hive communities about launching, launching through the bridge. So then you've got all these different Hive communities that could launch their token onto PolyCUB, and now they've got an external liquidity pool, which a lot of these communities have reached out to us about doing on Cub and PolyCUB. So now if these communities create their own vaults, they have the same setup where their community, like let's say the CTP token wants to launch a vault, they can launch PCTP, and then it's going to have 0 yield. But then if that community starts buying up PolyCUB and staking it as xPOLYCUB, they can vote more yield into their community's token vault. So then you've got this kind of battle with, individual stakeholders who are potentially whales like 1Alpha. And then you've got communities like CTP or Hive or HBD, or even PLEO, and they're voting up their vaults because they want more yield in them. So it kind of creates this demand for PolyCUB to control governance, which is exactly how Curve works. So if you want to know why Curve CRV is always valuable, it's because of the V-Curve voting system and their DAO and how you can vote rewards into different vaults. So we're really taking all of these models and we're kind of converging on them. And we had all these kingdoms and this idea of how the management fees were going to go. And it is generating a lot of value, but with PHBD, it's really just flipped everything on its head, because having the PHBD token is generating so much value for protocol and liquidity. Because obviously the treasury is earning from staking that HBD on chain, it's earning from wrapping, it's earning from arbitrage. And then, in the long run, governance will control how much yield goes into that vault. So if there's HBD whales out there, they want more PolyCUB, they have a utility or a demand to own more PolyCUB and stake it so that they can drive more yield into that PHBD vault. So this is really just kind of reshaped, it's like this radical reshape of how, we look at PolyCUB and the future of it. And obviously all of this leads to Cub too, which is kind of turning into more of like a Thor chain type of platform where everything's backed by PolyCUB and it's all governed by PolyCUB and xPOLYCUB. So long story short, the whole idea is that PHBD has completely reshaped the way that we're looking at this utility and scarcity dynamic. And yeah, I'm pretty, I don't know if it shows, but I'm pretty excited about this migration. I think it's going to be extremely beneficial.
Nice. I think the timing is awesome too in regards to HBD and just Hive, because right now algorithmic stable coins is the new hotness, and every single blockchain is launching one that doesn't have one. And a lot of them, like, because of that, are getting more attention and more momentum. So given that, Hive's had one since basically day one, we're solving the problem of no liquidity pool. So I think the timing couldn't be any better than it is.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see something interesting happen. We got big news this week. If anyone's got the tape to play back.
So I guess we'll stick with PolyCUB since you just talked a lot about it. Obviously, we just had the conclusion of our first governance vote.
Yep.
So that's a question I'm surprised no one's asked, but I bet everybody is curious about. So, that finalized. It looks like 30 days for the penalty.
Yep.
1, which will obviously be an adjustment from the 90 days. 15 days came in second. 90 days never even stood a chance. I personally voted for 30 days. Ironically, after thinking about it some time, if I could do it over again, I probably would have voted for 15 days. I think 30 days is that happy medium though, as far as the penalties, but also not being this ridiculous amount of lockup period of time. So the real question is, in the end, the good old when. So when does that implement? When does that? I mean, has there been an announcement that that officially is closed and that's 30 days one? And what's the timeline in terms of the implementation of that? And what does that look like for people that are already holding PolyCUB in their locked wallet?
Yeah. It's so it did win 30 days. If you saw, a bunch of people made posts about it. People were tracking the vote very closely. And yeah, so that transaction has been queued by basically by the DAO, by the treasury. And now I would say, within 24 hours, you'll see that transaction executed, which will change the window from 90 to 30 days. I think that's incredibly positive, especially considering this new model that we're headed toward with PHBD, PSPS, potentially things like PCTP, PHIVE, with all of these different communities that we're going to be onboarding into PolyCUB and kind of changing the way the platform works in terms of vaults. That's going to be an important change. And I know a lot of people, like you said, you may have wished for voting for 15 days or some other day scheme or setup. Some people said 60 days would be better. So I don't know. I think 30 days sounds good. I like the idea of 30 days. It makes it easy to remember. Once a month you can harvest your claims, or you can claim your harvests.
Yeah, and that's the point of the vote in the end. I mean,
Right.
let the people speak. So in the
Right.
end, and then what I liked about it too was that 30 days, 30 days won, but it not only had the most weighting, it also had the most votes.
Right.
So there was no question about it. I was like, all right, in every direction, 30 days was the pick from basically the audience, from the users, from the xPoly holders, as opposed to, where you could have a situation where it's just top 5 whales voted on one thing, everyone else voted on the other, and then those 5 votes just outweighed everybody else.
Right.
So there's it couldn't have worked out any more perfect in terms of just zero sour taste at all. It won, in every way you could look at it, every facet. So I would say the first vote was a great success. Obviously, going forward, I know, you talked about there'll be a UI for future votes that I think will probably lead to more voter adoption. There probably would have been more votes. But in the end, I think a very successful first vote.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that this is only this was the first governance vote. I also wanted to see, we as a team, we wanted to see a testing of governance to make sure, everything went smoothly, and it did. So it was nice to have this kind of first vote and see people participate in it. Obviously, without the UI, it was a little bit harder to do. Obviously, it wasn't hard. All you had to do was send a simple transaction, but with the UI, you will literally click a button for what you want to vote for, and it'll be super easy. So that was nice to see, and kind of something that I was getting at with you saying that you would have wished maybe if you did it over, you'd do 15 days. With this new governance system, there's going to be a lot of votes and a lot of proposals, and there's going to be continuous votes. And the voting, the claiming window is just one mechanic that can be voted on, and that proposal can be brought back up whenever the community decides to vote up that proposal and get it put to a vote. And yeah, so we're going to see a lot of mechanics like that continuously voted on, and the platform is moving into the ownership of the people using it, and that's the way it's designed to be. So I'm excited that governance is in place. And what I'm excited for is that this governance vote went really well. So now we're ready to do this full 180 change for PolyCUB, where all these vaults are going to get released with their own wrap token that's owned by the treasury, that's obviously earning from all these different methods, those 5 value accrual mechanisms I talked about. And then that governance vote that's continuously happening to say, we want more yield in the PHBD vault, we want more yield in the PHIVE vault, we want more yield in the PLEO vault. These continuous governance votes and governance battles over where yield should go. So, if you're staking PHBD, and I saw Resilencia comment, don't rush to put liquidity. I'm happy with my rewards on PHBD, which is obviously a funny way of saying, don't compete with my LP. I want more of the rewards. There's plenty of people that have that sentiment because, when you put, PHBD-USDC or PLEO-MATIC into a vault and you want rewards, having other people join that vault lowers your APY. What you can do under this new system, though, is launch a governance vote and say, we want to double the yield in the PHBD vault. And let's say that you have, $50,000 in the PHBD vault and you want your yield to go 2x. You can put it to a vote, and basically, if you have enough PolyCUB staked, and if you can rally enough support behind your vote, you can double the yield in your vote, in your vault. And then, let's say that other people don't like that, because to double the yield in the PHBD vault, it has to take away from yield in like PLEO, in PSPS, in PCTP, in PHIVE. So, you know, when that yield does double, then people in those vaults are going to say, no, we want more yield in our vault. Then they put up a proposal saying, you know, we want to double the yield in the PHive vault. And then all the people with PHive rally behind it and buy up PolyCUB to try and beat the other proposal and double their yield over the other vault. So we are essentially creating this curve whale war on PolyCUB, and I think it's going to get pretty fascinating once we have all these different vaults. And the key behind all of this stuff is those 5 value accrual mechanisms where no matter what vault is getting more yield, it's creating this slosh on the platform, and it's creating all of this value for PolyCUB because PolyCUB's earning from 5 different ways, and the treasury is growing exponentially more as more activity comes in. So I'm extremely excited to see how that plays out. It really flips PolyCUB completely on its head and changes it from, you know, what it is today and into more of a, you know, a economically sound platform, kind of like Thorchain, where you've got all these different value accrual mechanisms and they're all just playing into a bigger protocol and liquidity, which obviously creates risk-free value and drives the price up in the long run. And then all the yield generated by that protocol and liquidity is buying PolyCUB off the market and using it for LP incentives, which kind of amplifies the fight over vault rewards, which again leads right back into PolyCUB. So it creates this very circular, or, you know, kind of like Apple, this very closed loop ecosystem where one thing feeds the other, which feeds the other, which feeds the other, which keeps the wheel turning. So I'm excited to see when we launch. Probably the next thing we launch in this direction, obviously first we're going to release that white paper that kind of describes this new economic outline for PolyCUB. And then after that, what we're going to do is probably launch PHive next and PSPS. And then from there, we're going to keep migrating the vaults and keep adding those bridge wrapped vaults that are controlled by the PolyCUB treasury. And we'll kind of keep moving from there. So another public service announcement: if you are a Hive community member, if you're a member of a Hive community or a community leader, and you have a token that has good trading volume every day, and decent liquidity on, you know, Hive Engine or wherever else you're listed, and you want to get listed on PolyCUB and potentially participate in one of these bridge vaults, you know, reach out to the Leo team. You can DM me, or you can open a tech support ticket or something. Just reach out, tell us, you know, what type of trading volume you get, what your liquidity is like, and we can basically put up a proposal to get your vault listed. And if it goes through, then we can put up another proposal to add yield into your vault. And then obviously your community needs PolyCUB to vote that yield in. So this is like a whole new direction for PolyCUB. I'm extremely excited about it.
Cool, man. It's good stuff. So I guess before I transition a question over to Cub, I think the only other loose end is with the new penalty period. When that takes effect, how does that impact existing coins? So if someone's got, like, I actually don't have anything I've harvested, which was dumb. I kind of just let it accumulate. I should have harvested it all right away. But if someone harvested stuff 30 days ago, is it going to be available immediately, or?
Yeah, well, and like you said, you know, it's kind of funny because I looked into how much is kind of sitting in the claim locked and waiting to be unlocked for the 90-day period, and there's almost zero. It's very, very small in terms of how much PolyCUB is waiting. So I do think some people after the governance vote got worried that there's going to be all this PolyCUB that unlocks early because people were waiting for the 90-day window, and now it obviously unlocks after 30 days. So to answer your question, if you were, like, let's say that you had unlocked 31 days ago, and obviously under the current system, you had to wait, you know, another 59 days to get your PolyCUB unlocked with no fee. Since you've waited 31 days, that carries over, and now it just unlocks right away because you've already waited 30 days. So once that thing goes live, then it'll unlock. The funny thing is, though, that almost nobody has been waiting. So there's like very little PolyCUB that will be unlocked right away, or, you know, in that 30-day window. But I do think more and more people are going to start waiting for 30 days. So they're going to start harvesting. Like, basically, I think a lot of people are going to start harvesting daily. and then they'll just start letting it unlock. So then, after 30 days, their first day would unlock, then 31 days, their second day of harvesting would unlock. And then every day they'll basically be able to claim what they had harvested 30 days prior, which obviously can get a little confusing depending on, how well you understand that mechanic. I do think we can do a better job with the UI. So I would like to add something that displays, X amount will be unlocked in 3 days, for example.
Yeah, I mean, that can get interesting because obviously, you can list every single day in essence, and then it just becomes a big hot mess of a UI. But
Yeah.
I mean, some kind of gauge, I guess, is helpful, whether it's, in 24 hours, X amount will be free, maybe even something like that. But cool. Yeah. I'm sure other people are curious about it. And yeah, I have some sitting that's probably been like, I don't know, maybe 7 to 10 days in. So I'll still have a couple weeks to wait. But that's also because I was not harvesting for some reason. I was just letting it stack. But so now, all right, all the PolyCUB talk, which was awesome. But what's the deal with Cub? Are all these things going to get to push to Cub, or some of them going to get pushed? Obviously there's a lot of people that feel like Cub is become a forgotten project. I don't know if I completely agree with that, but like, for instance, and I can even, ask this question as a personal one. Like, I basically stayed kind of loyal to Cub in terms of, like, I have a huge Cub stack. I didn't move any of it over to PolyCUB. Most people I knew literally just got out of Dodge and moved everything to PolyCUB, which seems like potentially the better play. Obviously, that price has come down, but obviously the price of Cub has, drastically come down since the early days of the airdrop. So like, I basically been just riding or dying kind of the whole time. So the airdrops for future dynasties or outposts or whatever we want to call them, right? That's always a positive for Cub. That's a good reason to hold Cub. But outside of that, what are the mechanics for Cub where there's any excitement? Like, obviously there's all this excitement about PolyCUB. Is it, basically ditto for Cub, or what's kind of the goals and outlook for Cub DeFi?
Yeah, I think people have kind of short-term memories because, this big airdrop just went to everyone who's got Cub. So obviously a lot of value was transferred to anyone who's got Cub.
Yeah, it's also the offset of, like, people looking at it like, all right, great, I got this airdrop, but the price is down, like, basically 60-70%. So really it's net.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the interesting thing about an airdrop, right? You have that kind of rise and fall.
Yeah.
So I do think it's kind of like this short-term fall where people bought into Cub, they held it for the airdrop, and now they sold it. But obviously, like
I'm surprised that price didn't.
There's other airdrops kind of on the horizon.
Yeah, I'm surprised though. I was just gonna say, I didn't mean to interrupt. Like, I'm surprised that price didn't hold up better considering the airdrop is still going.
Right. Yeah, I think
there's
just like this big
people.
fear. Yeah, I think people just kind of have like this fear of like a falling knife, and it's once it falls a little bit, it falls a lot, and then people start to freak out. Well, the same thing happens on Bitcoin, right? Like, we fall to 40K and then we instantly drop to 38K. So it's kind of funny to see how fearful people get with stuff like this. So yeah, similar to Hive when it dropped down to 10 cents. Is it gonna drop to 5 cents, or is it gonna bottom out at 10 and then rise to $1? I think we're just kind of in one of those moments. And in terms of like long term for Cub, like, I do think it's funny that people forget that all of this stuff is being built on an EVM chain, which means that it is all portable to each other. So every development we do on PolyCUB is going to lead right back into Cub later. We're just using PolyCUB as kind of almost the guinea pig framework to build the stuff and then migrate what works really well into Cub. So I think we're only going to see better days for things like Cub and PolyCUB and even Leo itself, where you've got this kind of mass fear right now, this massive FUD around them, and as soon as that flips, it flips quick, and then people FOMO right back in. Yeah, I mean, I have a ton of cub. I never sold my cub for PolyCUB. I have a ton of cub. I have a ton of PolyCUB. And what I'm really looking forward to is kind of changing the way we look at value accrual, both for PolyCUB and for cub. And this whole bridge idea and PHBD changed my entire outlook on how we're using these platforms, because especially with cub and PolyCUB is more DeFi 2.0 than cub is, but cub is very DeFi 1.0, where there's a high inflation rate and it's paying yield into these vaults like Kingdoms. And if you read any of Addicted's posts from when PolyCUB launched, he was very negative about PolyCUB and Kingdoms and stuff. And I do think in some ways he was a little harsh on it, but I do think he had a lot of very fair points about how PolyCUB works and how these management fees and Kingdoms work, and how there isn't enough value accrual in those types of vaults. So I do think he had some very valid points about that. And what I'm excited for is migrating towards value accrual over everything else. So, something like a Kingdom only accrues value. So like a WETH Bitcoin Kingdom only accrues value for PolyCUB through a 10% management fee on the yield, which is obviously very small in comparison to the yield that PolyCUB is paying to have that vault live and to drive liquidity into it. But then when you take that framework and say, okay, well, there's not enough value accrual to back up the yield that we're paying that vault, then flip that completely on its head and say, okay, let's release a vault where we own the bridge token. So we own the wrapping fees to get in and out of that token, where we have the arbitrage, where we have, all the fees, all the management fees, where the governance vote controls how much yield goes into that. So it creates more utility for PolyCUB, where PolyCUB backs the vault itself. So it's like PSPS-PolyCUB. So it creates another utility for SPS holders to buy and hold PolyCUB. So take all those value accrual mechanisms. So there's 5 of those, and compare it to the one value accrual mechanism for something like a PolyCUB or a Cub Kingdom. And I think it's pretty obvious that the one with 5 value accrual sources is a lot better than the one with 1. So PHBD really just completely changed the way that we look at these vaults. And I think it's pretty obvious now, looking, having PHBD as an example, and then looking backward at these other vaults. I think it's pretty obvious that if we have a platform that is only filled with those big vaults that have those 5 value accrual sources, and then we get rid of the vaults that only have 1 value accrual source, I think it's pretty obvious that things are going to get a lot better for PolyCUB. And then obviously we're going to take that model and just port it right into Cub, where Cub is also going to change into this more bridge idea of kind of copying Thorchain and creating all these different value accrual vaults. And then obviously Cub is getting protocol and liquidity, Cub is getting bonding, Cub is getting collateralized lending. So all these features that we build for one goes to all. It's a very vertical stack, and we're just adding layers into it right now. So if you stick with something at the early stages, like look at Rune and Thorchain when it got hacked, it went down significantly, and people were very negative. There was a lot of FUD about it, and it just dropped like a falling rock in the ocean. Obviously if you stuck with it and you knew what was going on, and you knew that the development behind the scenes was happening for things like Terra, for ThorFi, it's very similar idea where people FUD very quickly, but then they also FOMO very quickly. It's 2 sides of the same coin.
What's up with HBD on other platforms? Am I dreaming, or is BHBD going to be a thing at some point?
Yeah, so right now the focus is PHBD liquidity. We need more, and obviously Tony was just talking about doing a curve pool for PHBD to get even more liquidity into it, which is something I'm gonna start looking into. It's really important, and this goes for a lot of reasons, but I think it's really important for HBD to get more usage and more adoption. And to have that happen, the witnesses already solved the demand issue, which is they made the on-chain fixed rate for staking HBD 20%, which is extremely attractive. And we can really sell that to people in the DeFi space. And I've already started to do it. I think there's a lot of people that have jumped into Hive and jumped into staking HBD since that change went live. But the problem that they didn't solve is liquidity and supply. So, there's plenty of whales, and I've talked to dozens of them who want to throw $100,000 or even $1 million into HBD, and they want a safe fixed rate return on HBD. The problem is they literally cannot get their hands on HBD. It is impossible. I tried to buy like 250,000 HBD, and it was extremely difficult. I bought in really tiny chunks on the internal market, and then I did an OTC deal and paid a huge premium to get a bunch of HBD. So it's extremely difficult to get it. And I've sent these whales now to PolyCUB, where they're going into that PHBD-USDC vault, and they're buying HBD as much as they can without paying too much of a premium. So if you watch that vault, you'll see that it's almost always over $1, because there's these whales that just keep trying to buy in little chunks. Because PHBD has the most liquidity of any HBD listing. But the problem is that it doesn't have enough liquidity to support, dozens of whales trying to buy millions of dollars in HBD. So if you see it, there's a couple $1,000s of HBD being bought out of PHBD-USDC every single day. And then obviously PolyCUB's treasury is arbitraging the price back down to $1, and then people start buying it up right away. So like if you look right now, PHBD is trading at 1.01. So it's trading at a 1% premium. And, as soon as that gets arbitraged back down to $1, you'll see it just spike right back up to 1.02 as soon as a whale wants some more HBD. So we really need to see more liquidity into PHBD for a lot of different reasons. One big one just being that, I want Hive to be more widely adopted. I think everybody does who's here. The wider we get adoption for Hive, the more people come into LeoFinance, the more people come into PolyCUB, into Cub. It all feeds into itself. So that this PHBD vault is extremely important for Hive adoption. And then on top of that, it's extremely important that we get more liquidity in PHBD because of the value accrual for PolyCUB. So, we've already seen thousands of dollars be accrued in value from the wrapping fees from the staking, the on-chain staking of HBD in the PolyCUB Oracle account. And then obviously the arbitrage that PolyCUB does on PHBD. We're kind of seeing this all just feed right back into PolyCUB. So it's extremely, extremely important that PHBD continues to grow. So before, my long-winded answer is, before we launch BHBD, we need PHBD to reach more apex liquidity. So I would like to see, $1+ million in there. And obviously our target is to get to $5 million in PHBD. Then you have the cool idea of, let's just imagine a future where there's $2 million in the PHBD-USDC pool. And then we launch BHBD and it also reaches $2 million in liquidity. Now you've got BHBD on Cub and PHBD on PolyCUB. So to connect this to your point about what's happening for Cub, the fact that we have the two largest liquidity pools and they're connected by this multi-Cub chain bridge where they're launched on PolyCUB and on Cub simultaneously, the arbitrage and the wrapping fees that go back and forth between those pools is going to be astronomical. It's going to be it's going to be exponentially higher than anything we've ever seen in terms of wrapping fees and arbitrage volume that goes back and forth between those two pools. So just imagine that a whale comes in and they buy $10,000 worth of HBD on PHBD. As soon as they do that, there are arbitrage bots that are watching that price and they're going to buy BHBD on Cub. Then they're going to unwrap it into regular HBD. Then they're going to rewrap it to PHBD. And now you've created two wrapping transactions where the PHBD got unwrapped into HBD. So that's one transaction that got unwrapped. So that's a fee for the PolyCUB treasury. Then that HBD got rewrapped into BHBD. So that's another wrapping transaction that generated a fee, a reward for the Cub treasury. And then that's traded on BHBD, which is obviously on Cub Finance. And then it earns from that volume and that arbitrage and that all that trading volume. So it's a very circular ecosystem. I'm excited to see. That's another thing I'm extremely excited to see in practice, which is a big PHBD pool and then launching that BHBD pool.
Yeah, and I mean, someone asked about it, I think, comments of a post, and I was like, BHBD is going to come just after PHBD liquidity gets, firmed up. So
yeah,
just wanted to make sure I wasn't dreaming when I gave them that answer. I forget what post it was on, but I was pretty sure about that. And yeah, obviously that's the goal. And sooner the better. But the issue
Yeah.
is just HBD available, and not even just HBD available. I think just liquid, like circulating supply, I think is even an issue.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. I think it was like 9 million HBD was circulating last time I checked. Something
Yeah,
like that.
but that needs to get like 5x.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, you look at every other algorithmic stable coin there is right now, and it's like that number is dwarfed.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you look at like UST. So
Yeah, we need the HBD printer to be turned on.
yeah,
for sure.
someone call Powell.
Someone call an expert.
All right. Apparently he's done printing US dollars for now. He needs to go print something else. We'll have him come. HBD printer go burr.
Yeah.
But all right. So now speaking of like I guess obviously more eyeballs and printing money, aka spending money. So obviously you had the big marketing push, especially for the PolyCUB launch. You spent probably a good chunk of money, getting posts on the major outlets like, CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, all that. So now that that's been going on for, I don't know, like a month or so, and I don't know if there's any direct metrics to track it. It might be tough, but just even your overall vibe, because I kind of have my vibe. That marketing push so far, the money you spent, all that stuff. How do you feel about the result of it? Was there really any result? Did it help add any, TVL or, user adoption? Or was it basically, kind of round one beta test, learned a lot and, make some adjustments going forward?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a mix of those things. So I do think we saw a lot of value generated from those. And the way I've been tracking it is a couple different ways. One is that we generated, extremely valuable backlinks to LeoFinance.io because all those articles obviously linked back to LeoFinance. So that was extremely valuable for us. And then, the second thing I was looking at is traffic, just general traffic to LeoFinance.io, and it has increased significantly since doing all those marketing pushes. The third thing I was looking at is the daily Leo email signups, because obviously when new traffic hits LeoFinance.io, it sees that little pop-up to subscribe to the daily Leo newsletter. So I have been tracking that. And then what else have I been tracking? Just general like social media followers, Discord members, Telegram members. Telegram's been blowing up lately. What's the other thing? Then just general traffic into like Cub, PolyCUB, and obviously TVL was extremely high, and I do think it was extremely valuable. And then, like you said, kind of that other second rate impact was that we learned a lot. We created a lot of connections in CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, and all these big outlets. And now, whenever we're ready to do a PR, we can just easily snap our fingers and get a PR right to them, and they'll post it quickly because now they know that they're dealing, with a repeating customer. They don't have to like vet us and vet our PRs closely, and they can just kind of launch them within 24 hours. So the next major PR push you're going to see, I think, is going to be the Leo Mobile V1 push, where we talk about, like you said, there's plenty of people in crypto, plenty of people in the real world that you go to a conference, you tell them, hey, Web3 exists and you can already use it. LeoFinance's mission is Web3 in the palm of your hands. So, we need to push when Leo Mobile V1 is in full app stores and it's easy to use and Facebook signups are all going and everything's easy to onboard. We need to really push that into the mainstream. So you're going to see the next big PR push, I think, is going to be for Leo Mobile V1.
Awesome. Yeah, and that'll definitely have, I think, positive impact, because that's something that's just direct increased user base.
Right. That's a lot more. Yeah, that's a lot more trackable too, because like right now we got 20 new accounts are created through Leo Mobile and LeoFinance.io. If we start doing this big PR push and then you see 100 new accounts are created every single day through those two methods, obviously that's going to be very, easy to tell. You're just going to say, okay, well, we went from 20 to 100. That's a 5x in new user signups every single day. And obviously, PRs did well.
Good stuff. All right, cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that, it's been overall a positive experience. I was curious about it because obviously I don't know the metrics for LeoFinance and whatnot, but I was in regards to PolyCUB and total value locked and things like that. I didn't know if it gave the, net effect you were looking for. So it's good that overall is positive and that, you kind of got a game plan for going forward. So sounds like marketing and marketing spends is, basically become just standard operating practice for the business.
Yeah. Whenever we have a big launch, it's all going to be marketed and PR. We're going to do big PRs for it, which I think is cool. I think we've really needed that.
Cool. Well, so since you're still willing to spend on marketing, I'm gonna paint you in a corner right now, live on air. Cat wants some Leo to reimburse for LeoFinance shirts he bought. And
I forgot about that.
Where's to all the events to rep your brand?
I forgot about that.
I'm not even looking for appearance fees, just reimburse shirt cost.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
The account is Scaredy Cat Guide.
How much did you spend on the
it was like 90 something bucks.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought 3 shirts, but the one I spent like $40 on like overnight shipping, so I had it in time for that first event.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that Leo's just gonna get powered up anyway. So feel free, because the bottom line is you're busy as hell. I don't even honestly like. I almost don't even bother DMing you anymore because I'm just like, you kidding me? Like, so figure, well, I got you on air.
Yeah. My DMs are notoriously not answered. So,
oh yeah. Are you kidding me? You get 8,000 DMs a day. So it's like me with Facebook Messenger and people hitting like normies hit me up about crypto. I'm just like, seriously? I got to the point where like, I'm not even gonna try and answer all these anymore. I'm like, I just can't.
Yeah.
Especially because like, it's not even, it's just me randomly helping people, like, answering questions. It'd be one thing if it was like my job or something, but yeah. So
all right, I got you.
Good looking out.
Yeah.
I feel more motivated now. Now it's not costing me to shill LeoFinance to everyone in South Florida. But and I'll tell you what, though, that is one thing I'm blessed with in terms of location. Like South Florida, and especially Miami, really is becoming the crypto capital of America.
Yeah.
And there are events every single week. Like there's another one coming up in 2 weeks in Palm Beach again called Permissionless, but they're out of their minds. They want like $1,500 for a ticket. I was like, yeah, you can kick rocks. So like everything I've been going to, generally, I'll just, because I don't mind spending $50, $100, couple $100, because I'm going to network regardless. So I've been doing all that stuff. And there's a lot of events where just the general admission is that price point. Obviously, you could always get the higher price stuff, the VIP tickets or vendor tickets, things like that. But yeah, there's some of the events now where they're just getting stupid, where like the floor price is $1,500. I'm just like, you pass.
They know, like, unless you're crypto rich.
Yeah, it's like, unless I'm like gonna literally like have a vendor booth, you know what I mean? Which again is something, down the road that you might want to consider at like the really big conferences, like literally doing a vendor booth. Because like even like the Bitcoin conference, walking through the convention center, you got all those booths. Like I recognized a lot of it, but there was probably about 25% of things I'm like, I have no idea what this is. But you had thousands of people, just foot traffic going by, and then someone to talk to. And I was like, I guess that's when it's worth it. It's kind of worth its while.
I think we should pick a conference and definitely test it out. I think we should do a Leo booth and then do a Leo booth and, hire some people to show up. Obviously I would come. If you are able to, you could go. Maybe we get Neil to go too. And then have a couple of other people. So hopefully like, maybe 5 to 10 people at the Leo booth.
Over under on Neil going. I'm taking the under.
And then and so we can all stand there, and then we can say, you know, our big banner can say LeoFinance, Web3 in the palm of your hands. And then people will walk up to be like, what is this Web3 in the palm of my hands? And we could say, scan this QR code with your iPhone, download
Boom.
Leo Mobile, and then we'll
Yep.
help you sign up right here. And you just show them, and we can show them, here's how you comment, here's how you earn rewards, here's how you can trade Leo on Thorchain, on Sushi Swap, on Pancake Swap. And we just kind of give them this little packet of information about how to do it. And we just stand there and talk to them. Obviously, we can get some information from them if they want to stay in touch and get more help and stuff. You know, I think that could be an easy hand-to-hand combat way of probably onboarding, you know, at a conference, what, like 250 plus people?
Probably. Yeah, you can get a few hundred. I mean, and that's, it goes back to old school grassroots marketing. It still works. And that's why still a big corporation still do it to this day. I mean, I know I used to do that back in the day. I did, you know, many different gigs traveling the country. And, you know, the key is, like you said, you have a booth, you have, you know, a few people that know what they're doing, you know, if whether it's you or, you know, like maybe even like a Nomad Soul, and then, you know, possibly me or Neil, right? And then you just hire a few local staff. Basically, you know, you get 3 attractive women wearing LeoFinance t-shirts that are the ones in front of the booth that when people are going by, they're the ones engaging,
right?
You know, and then getting people like, oh, scan this QR code. And it's just like, and that's what's so huge about having the LeoFinance mobile app now, because that makes that all functional.
Yeah.
And then from there, you know, you're there or whoever it is from the team is there to, like, you know, whatever, answer more questions, go down the rabbit hole. But that is literally the blueprint. If it happens to be an event in South Florida, I actually know a girl that does that for a living in terms of like the marketing stuff. So I could hit her up and she could basically, you know, send us a few hotties to wear LeoFinance t-shirts and get people. It's what it is. I mean,
yeah.
You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, sex sells.
That's so sure. There's something to be said for that. But yeah, not a bad idea. If you're gonna go to a conference anyway, you know, if there's a conference you're looking to go to, getting an actual booth might be worth it.
Yeah, I think it would be worth it.
There's a huge conference. It's probably too soon. There's a huge conference going on in Vegas next month because you remember Chris from T3?
Yeah.
So I've seen. So now I met up one of the Bitcoin conference, and then we actually met up at the Palm Beach conference because he actually turns out he lives 10 minutes up the road from me.
Oh wow.
I didn't realize he was local. He had just moved down from New York. But anyway, like, so we kind of became friends, and that's all he does. Like T3 is like one of his clients. So he's got NFT projects that, you know, he's got clients that he's doing the, you know, marketing and whatever else for. But yeah, he's going to be in Vegas for a huge, I think it's an NFT a conference though, but yeah, vendor booths, the whole nine. So I'm
yeah, I definitely could use help vetting conferences and figure out which ones are good to go to and what would be worthwhile for us in terms of audience and
yeah. So I'm going to keep in touch with him just because like that's what he's tapped into. That's literally what he does for a living is basically, you know, promoting and marketing at these conferences. So
yeah, let's do it.
I'll you know, any good solid ones he gives me, I'll give you the heads up. I mean, the Vegas one sounds like it's going to be pretty badass, but I feel like I think I recall him saying it was more of an NFT convention. So, and I know it was an NFT project that he was representing. So, but cool. NFT Lions. Yes, Leo Lions. Actually, someone asked me about that when I was at the Palm Beach conference when I mentioned LeoFinance. They literally asked me if there was NFTs. I was like, well, there's NFTs coming actually for LeoFinance, which I guess is
Legends.
Yeah. Is that what it's going to be called? Leo Legends?
I think so. Yeah. That's the current.
I like that. Yeah. Leo Lions is congruent, but Leo Legends sounds way more badass.
Get your Legends NFTs.
NFT Lions, just saying. That'll be cool when there's LeoFinance NFTs.
Yeah, I guess I could tease it a little bit. So the way it's going to work is obviously it's going to benefit Leo holders. I'm not going to say what word it rhymes with, but there's going to be Legends NFTs for Leo holders where it's going to be really cool. It's based on some of the big NFT projects that have essentially, let me just pull this up so I get the verbiage correct. It is basically the way we're doing NFTs is the first iteration is going to be the NFTs themselves for Leo holders. And that is going to go live in the Sooniverse. And what's going to be cool about that is the first iteration is not going to have the play to earn game, but it's going to have some basically like these features where you can upgrade your, so you basically start with like a lion cub, right? And then you can upgrade your lion. And this is the first time I've talked about it, but you basically start with a lion cub. Then you can upgrade that cub into a more, like mature lion over time. So you basically collect that, you have like a base NFT, which is like a cub. And then you have other NFTs, which are like traits for that cub. So things like eye color, mantle, like ears, teeth, like skin color, and like all these different, like tattoos even, and like amulets, like a neck piece, kind of like armor, like in like World of Warcraft. And you kind of like collect all these different traits for your cub, and then you upgrade, you evolve your cub into, a lion, and it gets all these different traits, and then it gets basically more features built into it based on all the different traits you collect. And then the second iteration of the NFT release will be the play to earn game, which is basically where you can take your lion NFT with all these different traits, and you can play to earn. And you can like complete quests with the Leo legend NFT, and you can basically like defeat bosses and earn more NFTs. And then there's gonna be something called crossbreeding, where you can basically crossbreed different cubs and lions and do some really cool stuff. So I think it's going to add some fun to the community. And then obviously us being this Web3 ecosystem, and with all these different apps like Leo Mobile and LeoFinance.io, things get even cooler, because then we're going to take those legends NFTs and they're going to be integrated into LeoFinance.io and Leo Mobile. And you can use it as like your profile picture. You can have like an emblem next to your name based on, the level of your NFT. So it's going to be kind of like this badge of honor within the Web3 part of our community. In terms of, when people see your author name, they're also going to see, the level of your lion, of your legend lion. And they're going to see all this cool stuff about the stats behind it. And I'm really excited to see this all get integrated. So yeah, as what Wu was saying, communication, DeFi, NFTs, gaming, we are the truest form of a social economic community, which is, in my opinion, that's what Web3 is. It's a fully integrated community on all ends.
Nah, I'm with you. I mean, heck, just even seeing what the success of Hive Punks. I think Leo Legends will do 10x that. As there's going to be way more utility to it, and like you said, gameplay. So I got to bounce here in a couple minutes. So the last topic I want to bring up is, obviously everyone's talking about Elon buying Twitter. So, all of us here know Project Blank is out in the ether. So Wu was saying basically, if Twitter is under Elon and if it's a shit show, Project Blank would be amazing, which I agree. I also do think that Elon might be trying to Web3 Twitter, and that's why he's buying it, but that's just my guesstimate. But yeah, so Project Blank, obviously, I think it's good for Project Blank both ways. I mean, because if he does do that, then it puts it in everyone's, mind, and then we could just be, a competing platform. Or if it doesn't work out that well, Project Blank could basically be, the better version. So, but yeah, I don't know. What were your initial thoughts in terms of Project Blank, or if any, when you saw Elon was buying Twitter?
Yeah, I thought it was, I kind of figured it was going to happen. I remember, there was definitely that fight back and forth. I was pretty confident he was going to win that out, as he kind of does with everything in life, I feel like, for him.
I need that trait.
Yeah. It's definitely cool to see. I'm excited that he's taking over Twitter. I think it's going to be a positive thing for the world. In terms of Project Blank and how that impacts us, I don't think it's really going to have any impact. It's a very different game to convert a Web2 platform into a Web3 platform than to build a Web3 platform from scratch. So he's got a board to deal with. He's got, shareholders to deal with. He's got, the existing infrastructure behind Twitter. He's got the, social political landscape to battle against, who probably don't want Web3 Twitter. So he is, you know, as powerful of a person as he is, and I'm a fanboy of Elon, obviously. I don't think he or anybody is capable of turning Twitter into Web3. I think Web3 Twitter needs to be built from scratch, and that's what we're doing with Project Blank. So I think it's cool and good for the world that Twitter is hopefully going to be a more freedom of speech oriented environment, but I don't think that has any impact on Web3 and the adoption of things like Project Blank.
No doubt. So Project Blank is what, Q4?
Potentially, yeah. Let's see. And I did see someone comment in general chat about the airdrop. So the airdrop of Project Blank has always been and will always be to Leo holders. So that's going to be.
Oh yeah, I saw that in
very
general
big.
too, and I was like, it's Leo holders for Project
Yeah.
Blank. So Project Blank's
Yeah.
like ETH 2.0.
Right.
It keeps getting pushed out 2 further quarter. At least it's not 2 years. It's just 2 quarters. It gets
Right.
pushed.
Right. But it's going to
That's
be
awesome.
It's going to be huge, and we're building all these marketing contacts. It's going to be a big launch. That Project Blank is going to be, I don't know how to describe it. I'm really excited. I've been using some of it, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's crazy how many projects are going on.
Yeah,
Which is
the
another
dev
thing
team keeps
too.
getting bigger. We just hired on a new dev last week, and everything's looking great.
I mean, so that's awesome. The thing I'm looking at is that the dev team growing, obviously needed. I think you're going to get to the point though where you're going to need a leader for specific projects and platforms, like as opposed to, because like right now you're still in the L and the CEO of Cub DeFi, PolyCUB, you know, Project Blank, LeoFinance. At some point, like let's say when Project Blank launches, like you'll probably need like a Project Blank CEO at some point. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna need. I'm seriously like I mean, and honestly, those people might be in our community where they can start being groomed now, because you're gonna need, I think, you know, that it becomes like what was that? It's like Denzel in when he played Frank Wright, the drug kingpin. He's like, from now on, everyone talks to Huey, Huey talks to me. Like that's literally what you're gonna need, because you're gonna have like whatever it is, 12 different, you know, platforms, projects, and it's just like you just need 12 people, and then they all speak to you, as opposed to you being in all 12, and then you have whatever it is amount of people. You know, it's going to get crazy, I think.
Yeah. It's definitely gotten, you know, now we have kind of like almost like a CTO lead who's been helping me a lot with just talking to devs became my full-time job last year, where it was, I mean, the amount of volume in terms of communicate. That's why I don't answer any DMs anymore, because the only DMs I actually answer now are to the devs, because they need to hear from me to do things.
Yep.
So it's become so much volume from the devs themselves that I literally don't have time to answer normal DMs. I don't even answer people's text messages in real life. You know, I've basically told everybody in my life that if you text message me or call me, it needs to be like life or death emergency. You need to hear from me right now, or I can't respond. And that's just the way my life has gone.
Exactly. And that gets old quick. I know you're young, but I've been there, done that. What's going to happen is you're going to burn out.
Yeah, I've really been doing my best to hire as many people as possible to make it more, you know, easy on myself. And I basically write out everything that I do every day. And when I find things in my day that can be done by somebody else that doesn't have to be done by me, I immediately try to pass it on to somebody already on the team or hire somebody to do it now. So things like editing video clips, I was still doing that up until, you know, early this year, which is just wild because it took a lot of time. So we've just kind of continuously just tried to basically just find more people and build it out. Leo looks a lot more like an organization now than it ever did before. So that's, to me, that's getting exciting. It's like a whole different universe to tackle.
No, we can see how it's been getting built out. So that was just kind of like just throwing a nugget in your brain for like kind of even bigger picture down the road, where it's like, all right, we're building this team, but it's like, it's going to get to the point where you might need to like level it up from there and kind of just have heads of platforms, but you know, not there yet, but something that probably will be helpful in the future. So just something to keep in mind, because there might be some people floating around that eventually could fill those roles. I mean, obviously anyone that's already involved in the community is going to be, you know, better versed. Cool. with that said, my only last thing is I don't know if anyone else is having any issues on LeoFinance, but basically time I try to go anywhere but the home page, I basically just get a page that says invalid request. I've changed my node to 3 different nodes actually in the last 5 minutes, and I keep getting the same thing. And I even closed my browser out and all that stuff. So I don't know if anyone else is having that issue, but if I try and go pretty much anywhere,
It's working for me. I just
invalid
opened a bunch of
request.
pages.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So maybe it's on my end.
Might be a good bug report ticket.
We try a hard refresh. There we go. I probably, you know what? I probably needed the hard refresh after I switched the node. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just close out the browser completely, because then you have to log back into Keychain. And then usually that does the trick. So I think the hard refresh, yeah, hard refresh, speaking too soon, fix most of it. I did with the change in node. So
I do hear you lagging a little bit on the connection. So
could be that too.
Yeah, because I'm loading everything fine right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, let's see.
Most everything else loaded up.
Yeah, Woo said everything looks good. Solely Me said he's getting an error. Yeah, if you guys see an error, just open a bug report ticket. We can work on it. If there's something on our end that we can do.
I'm good for the most part. Let me see.
That is my public service announcement.
There you go. So people are able to submit. So wait, hold on. Let's be clear about this. Is there a difference between a ticket and a bug report, or is that in the same place that they're doing that?
Support, they're in. So there is now a
yeah, I
support
see
center, and I was talking with one of the devs, and we really need more people kind of submitting bug reports when they do have a issue with one of the apps. It's extremely helpful to us to fix things. Like I said, we built out, and this is kind of carries right into the conversation we were just having about organization and things like that. And one of the ways that you can save a lot of time for me and make it easier for us to fix bug reports and stuff like that is to use the ticketing system, because that helps me just kind of get things to the devs really fast and prioritize them, as opposed to like sometimes people just like DM me issues they're having and put them in general chat and stuff. And that's not that kind of I have to then read the DMs or read general chat, then take the information and submit a ticket, then take the ticket and then prioritize it. So
inefficient.
Right. So the efficient way to do it is to just direct, if you see an issue, just directly open, there's a channel or a drop down called Support Center on Discord. And then it's got tech support and bug report. So tech support is if you need like a personal issue handled, like let's say you do a wrapping transaction doesn't go through, that's tech support. Bug report is like what you just saw on the website, or if you're having some other issue.
LeoFinance mobile app.
Right, like the
my issue to that. Yeah,
exactly. Like Leo Mobile isn't loading for you. Open a bug report and then just include as much information as you can. And then if I need more, I'll have some back and forth. I'll tag you and ask you questions before I kind of submit it to the devs to be reviewed. And that is super efficient for us. It saves us a lot of time. And if you've been seeing a bunch of releases, it's because we've really pushed out a ton of bug report. Basically we pushed the load right into Trello, and we've been able to be a lot more efficient about it. So we've been pushing out a lot of better updates.
And I like that we also have a report abuse channel, because as LeoFinance continues to blow up, there will be more spammers and more shysters.
100%.
So report abuse channel doesn't hurt to have either. Awesome. Cool. All right, yeah, hard refresh for other people. Looks like we're all caught up. I gotta go anyway. So
That's good.
Until next week. And in the meantime, everyone enjoy life in this universe.
Yep. Thanks everybody.
All right, guys, have a good one.
All right, see ya.
Later.